fit.
J-Bell Entertainment.
Yeah, real life Jamaica. From the heart to the hills, shame, teach way. Real life Jamaica, we're living so true. From the dust of the road to the morning dew. Sun on our faces, the sky so blue. Real life Jamaica, it's me and you. No fake love, no running away. We hold our faith strong in real life Jamaica.
All right, guys, welcome to Real Life JA on JBL Entertainment TV. I am your host, Shane Reed, and in JCI world, they would call me Senator Shane Reed, but you guys don't have to call me that tonight. So, as I said, I am Shane Reed, and with us we have our special guest, the 2026 president for JCI Jamaica, Mr. Marklon Bedward.
Pleasure to pleasure to be here, Mr. Senator. How are you doing?
I am not bad, my national president. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us and joining us on JBL Entertainment TV and on Real Life. But before I get into the interview with you, Sir President, I am going to tell our viewers about our upcoming shows. So on Friday, we're going to be talking to one of our members. She is a vice president on the national board being led by Sir Marklon. She is the VP, but she's also an educator and she's also a poet. And she released a book. And so we're going to be talking to her about that tomorrow. And that's 8 p.m. and that's VP Yone. And then on Sunday, we're going to be talking to Miss and that's at 7 p.m. And then on Thursday, February 26th, we're going to be talking to Senator Danae Ennis, and she was president, what, 2024?
24.
Yes, for JCI Jamaica. All right, so thank you again, guys, for joining us. Please like and subscribe and share the link, and feel free to interact with us, ask any questions you want to ask Markland, and he will answer. We can see the comments as they pop up, and if not, they will just put it in the chat. So straight into the interview, sir. So dip them Bedward, dip them. Dip them in the healing stream. So that is a song about the great revivalist folk hero Alexander Bedward, and he was from Augustown area in St. Andrew. And that is where you're from, St. Andrew, Markland. So are you affiliated with Alexander Bedward?
It is hard to say that I'm not, because it's like a needle in a haystack. You can never find two Bedwards in one place. It's always one in one area. I have only met maybe a handful in person. I've also found online members, who have bear the name Bedward. There's even a group of us on Facebook, the Bedward family. So it's a pretty small group of persons. However, Bedward is a very prolific figure in Jamaican culture. So as you would have said, he's a revivalist pastor. Some would call him a prophet.
Yeah.
He was a very influential figure in Jamaica around the 1800s, because he would have had a movement. We would call it a Bedward movement or Bedwardism, for example. So he would have led maybe up to 1,000 followers. So I don't know if you should share the news or me about his ultimate demise.
Well, you have his name. What you share.
So during that time, colonial era, when you have such a strong movement like that, especially from a black man, that caused a lot of trouble for persons in the higher up. So he would have professed that he was the next Jesus, and he climbed up on a tree, I think. Climbed up in a tree and said he's going to ascend into heaven. And when he jumped off, he fell and injured himself. And he would have been arrested and been committed to the Bellevue Hospital for insanity. So he was locked up there for the rest of his life until he would have passed away. However, um, the songs are still there about him. You know, the memories that have passed down through oral tradition are still there about him. So, from what I can gather, ultimately, is that he was a great leader, a great orator, a great influence in Jamaican culture.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And I mean, he played a great role in the Native Baptist movement and a resistance to colonialism and all of that. So,
Yes.
yeah, he might have been a little bit questionable in terms of his persona, but there's no doubt about it that he was a vibes man, and he was able to motivate people and get them going and all of that. So, big up to Alexander Bedward and his memory. Yeah. All right. So, walk us through for your early years. You know, where are you from, etc.
So I born and raised in here in Kingston, Jamaica. That's our capital for our international viewers who may be on. That's the capital of Kingston. I've been here all my life. A little bit about me. I was a very shy child growing up. Uh, I was very well behaved, so I didn't really, you know, get into much trouble. Even though some would say when I was a child, I would jump the fence and run out a road sometimes. But generally, growing up, I think during school, I remember very notably that there used to be a thing where they said, "Okay, you're not reading very well." I was a very slow child growing up, and I remember they recommended that I go to a special school because I was not absorbing a lot of that information. And when I was in prep school, that's Rose Garden Prep, uh, one particular teacher, big up Miss Williams, she would have took me under her wing and say, "Hey, let's have some Saturday classes with some other students." So I would get dropped off at her home, and we would be in a classroom setting, just like at school, and ultimately began starting to read properly and beginning to comprehend and so forth. And it took off from there. I was very pretty decent in school, primary school, and I didn't really join many extracurricular activities. I would have been enrolled in things to get me out there, push me out of my comfort zone. And I think that's a recurring theme in my life so far. So I remember my aunt was saying, "Okay, you need to socialize and go out and get a few bruises on the knee and the skin and so forth." So, I was enrolled in things like karate and so forth. So I got those type of exposures, and ultimately went into to high school. So I'm a proud student of Excelsior High School. Age Animo, big up the Eagles. So I've been it was a quite an interesting journey going through high school. Still shy, still unaware of what my capabilities were, and then the academic started to go in. So from grade 7 coming up, I was always on that academic trajectory, always getting awards and so forth. And it really began my liking for things like science and modern languages, and those things have stuck with me through adulthood as well, where I'm still using some of those things today. I remember notably that I would have gained honors for the CSEC external exams and so forth. I was the most outstanding CSEC student for my year group that year. So everybody used to say, Marklon was a bright sparks. So there'd always be a group of us together. So you'd have the Tashianas, the Ashelas, and so forth.
Hmm.
We were the clique group that was it. Those are the smart people of the group, and went into sixth form, same Excelsior High School. I was deputy head boy for Excelsior 2014 to 2015, and also captain of the school challenge quiz team. So
Me? I didn't know you were in school challenge quiz.
yes,
How far did
so
you
so I so I specialized in science
guys?
and modern languages, and I was more of an all-rounder. So because when persons fell down, I always tried to study up. So I was a
Mhm.
brainiac in school, or a nerd, if you will put it that way. And basically, once I ended my high school career right there, went into university, started with the University of the West Indies and started to study pharmacology. And I found myself in work, and then I'm now studying social work, and I'm now an adherence counselor, which is a sexual health counselor that basically specializing in treatment and support for persons living with HIV and other associated illnesses with it. So I've been doing that for 4 years now, and it's been a fruitful and very eye-opening experience. I believe that health sciences is for me, and that's where I want to be in terms of career wise. Um, and then, in the midst of that, I became a JCI member, and that was a whole different.
Hold on, don't
But yeah,
don't yeah, don't jump the gun yet. So let's backtrack a little bit. So
yeah,
why pharmacology, and then why from pharmacology to health science? Well, they're kind of
sure.
connected because pharmacists
Yeah,
look for the well-being of the individual and all of that. So, but
yeah.
why pharmacists though? Why pharmacology?
Well, contrary to popular belief, a pharmacologist and a pharmacist are two different specialties.
Oh,
I
is
see.
that so?
Yes, there are two different specialties. So,
Hmm.
pharmacologists really specialize in the research and the mechanism of how drugs work. So,
Oh,
you won't find a pharmacologist in a pharmacy.
okay.
So you'd find them in a lab most likely, or doing research, while a pharmacist will know, ensure that there's the dispensing and the proper preparation of different type of drugs, and then you give it to the customer and so forth. So those are the pretty much this distinct difference. Why I
Yeah,
started with
how you found out about that profession? Because yes, why? Yeah.
yeah. So as I said, straight through Excelsior High School, I was a science guy. So
Mm.
I wanted to trek into the world of medicine. So when I went into university, I actually started in the Faculty of um, Science and Technology, where I was doing, general studies in science, and then I transferred over to the medical sciences department. So I wouldn't be able to get through directly to medicine. So I said, okay, this is going to be the path to that profession. So I began in pharmacology. Now, a lot of students during that time, I think many students didn't really do a lot of deep research into it because they thought, you could do pharmacy work, but it's not really that. But, I kind of knew what it was, so I stuck through it. I stuck through it for 2 years. So the pharmacology is pretty rigorous versus I guess pharmacists have their own type of challenges, but I remember it being so rigorous because you have to know everything about the drug. You have to know the side effects. You have to know what is a toxic dose, what is a lethal dose of your drugs. You had to do calculations. You had to do presentations. You had to do a lot of things. But I knew that that wasn't the end for me right there. So I began to explore other specialties outside of that, which would have led to the health sciences. So before becoming a health counselor, I was a science technician. So I actually was a science technician in a high school before transitioning into that, and it was at Mona High School, that is, and that was a pretty interesting experience because you had to interact with the students and so forth. So I had a little education background as well during
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
and then transitioning to health medicine or health counseling. I would have had connections with persons who are in the field, and like, this field actually requires you to use some type of pharmacological knowledge. So I'm like, oh, I can do this. And once I got into the profession, there was a learning curve, of course, but once I got into it, it felt like home almost because of what my background was before. But the challenging thing was that you had to speak to people every day, and if you know Markland doesn't speak a lot, and
Pause here.
yes,
Markland doesn't speak a lot. Please remember that. So we're going to take our, we're going to take our, and of course, he eventually became a debate for JCI. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to take
yes.
our first break. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Real Life on JBL Entertainment TV. I am your host, Shane Reed, and with us, we have a special guest in the person of Mr. Marklon Bedward, and he is the 2026 president for JCI Jamaica. And thank you all for joining. I guess you come from all over the world because JCI is an international organization. So some of you are from Asia, and some of you are from America, and some of you are from Africa. Wherever you are, and of course, you are from Jamaica, the Caribbean region. So wherever you are watching this, welcome. Please like and share. And if you have any comments, please do. I see Odell. I don't know if you're able to see Odell's comment. Markland
Uh,
eagles all the way, and
I get animal all the
yeah,
way.
yes, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. That what is that, Latin?
Yes, it is.
So you guys speak Latin too? Okay, I see. And what does that mean? Break down the Latin for me, sir.
So age animo means do it with thy might.
Do it with thy might. All right. So you share the same school with Cliff Hughes.
Yes.
Yes, and he speaks well of Excelsior High School. There is an iconic principal that he always talks about. I don't remember his name. I think he's the first principal or something like that. I don't know if you
Was it?
remember. Yes, I think so. You would not
Yes.
have experienced him.
No. So because he would have passed away way before I would have stepped foot.
Yeah, yeah,
But he's a foundational institutional leader in education. He's a big figure. Even to this day, persons still speak about him. So he's pretty, he was a pretty influential figure for Excelsior and other educational institutions in Jamaica.
yeah. Odell says Dr. Powell. So, guys, thank you for joining and for watching. Please like, subscribe. Tomorrow, as I said earlier, we're going to be talking to Yone. She's a teacher, an educator, and one of our own. And on Sunday, we're going to be talking to Miss Chantilly Campbell, and we're going to be talking about relationships. And on February 26th, we're going to be talking to Danae Ennis, Senator Danae Ennis. She's the past president for um, JCI Jamaica. And Odell said, yeah, JTA founding president. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I know the name from somewhere there. All right. So, Marklon, you're shy. You don't speak, but in people about their health and all of those things. So, how comes?
So for me, I think life is about not remaining static. And if it is that you believe that you can make an impact and a difference, then you have to be uncomfortable. And it sounds crazy, but it means that one would think, okay, you're literally going every day to something that makes you uncomfortable. But just like any type of skill, it's a muscle that you have to train.
Hmm.
And I know we'll talk about JCI soon, but that is where the framework would have started for me. And then I'm like, okay, this is if I want to even go into health, you can't speak to a wall, you can't speak in silence. You have to speak to actual living people.
Hmm.
And this world of adherence counseling has provided that for me, where you're not just speaking to your average Joe every day. You're speaking to persons who are homeless. You're speaking to persons who I don't know if this is PC to say sex workers, persons like those, um, persons who are in the incarcerated system. We speak with those persons who are mentally ill, so persons who, any type of person under this world, you will encounter that in my type of work. and it is a joy most days because you get to share something new to these people, and I think that is where the passion comes from when it comes down to health, sharing that information and helping people and making a difference. Because when you actually finish with a session and the patient or the client says, hey, I didn't know this before and now I'm going to apply this, it makes you feel better that someone, at least one more person, knows something that can actually better their life. So I believe that just speaking right now, or speaking in general at work, it's almost second nature right now. Yes, there are days where I just feel like my battery's on E sometimes, but like I said, some muscle that has grown over the years now, so I don't have a trouble right now speaking a lot.
All right, happy to hear that. So before we get into the other part of your life, so favorite food, music, sports.
So favorite food. So I know that some of my Guyanese friends maybe on right now. So I know that they're pretty famous for curry. So they'll probably correct me and say it's chicken curry. But I love anything curry, anything spicy. Anytime I go international for JSI, they always say, why is your food always so spicy or hot? But I'm like, I'm from Jamaica. Almost everything is spicy. So anything curry, so like mutton, curry goat, curry chicken. I love that. Anything spicy for me.
So you're
I
Indian man.
I probably had a Indian past life at one point. So yes, I love anything curry. In terms of music is very broad. Like I can listen to any type of music, but I would think some of the favorite one thing it may be surprising is that I love fast paced music. Say like the dance musics, the soca's, the
White
those type of
music. Sorry.
quote unquote white music. So the uns music that is for me. But I love that. So on a daily I listen to that. Some days I'll probably listen to R&B, some is pop, sometimes it's even opera, sometimes it's gospel every now and then, sometimes it's dancehall. It can be just any type of music that brings me peace. So that's what I love. Yeah.
So you're eclectic, as they say. Whatever. I see. Sports. Are you a sports guy?
No.
My
No.
God, your predecessor is Renil is very much. You can't let down the team like that,
Oh
man.
no, I believe in diversity and I'll be the diverse one in the group. Not a sports fan, so I've never played sports. Um, Actually in school, the only failing grade I've ever gotten in school is in PE. Believe it or not. So while I might get like the 80s and the 90s in other subjects, if I
Hmm.
scrape a 60%, which is a pass mark, a 60%, I'm good. I'm good for me, especially, especially, especially if it's a practical. I'm just gonna scrape through. I remember one particular moment when I was in grade 8. I remember in the first semester I got a 60 something% in PE because it was practical based. Next semester it was theory based, and I remember I got one of the highest grades in the class, and that pushed me up to third in the class for that particular subject, and everybody was outraged because I'm like, you don't even carry PE close to school. Why how you come third in the class? So that's me in sports. But I am an avid watcher and observer of track and field. I love track and field, and engaging in discourse for that. So as far as sports goes, I'm an observer with track and field.
All right, so track and field observer. Hi, Sean Ray. Sharney, 528. I don't know if Markland know who that is. So probably he does. So hi, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. So we're going to get into the meat of the matter. So you see, Markland has on a chain of office. And so before he came on, I was going to say, like, boss, please ensure that you have your chain of office. But then something in the back of my brain say, idiot, you talk a Markland you talk about. You don't even have to send a message. And as he came on, And I said, okay, yeah, I was right. So he's wearing the chain of office. And describe your introductory process to JCI. I mean, it's 2020. How the hell did you find us? Because at that time,
Okay.
uh,
So, funny enough, I actually knew of JCI the year prior, which was 2019. I actually saw some flyers that were sent to me, and I saw it, but I didn't pay it any mind. So, you know, past national president Odell is in the chat here, so he would have introduced me to what JCI is. So he's like, "Come on." He was local president at the time when I joined, and he's like, "Come along, and see what it's about." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know what this thing is about, so let me go." So I went to a JCI St. Andrew meeting. So that is my home chapter, and I remember, leaving work. So I was at Mona High School at that time, leaving work, and I went there and at Ligani Club, and I went into the meeting, and I remember it was February, I think, yes, February 2020. We had our meeting, and Odell and his board of directors are going through the plan of action for the year, and I remember being in there, and they were going through the plan of action. And I'm like, okay, this sounds good. It sounds like they're having a lot of good ideas going. And then I remember when the questions and comments were coming in now, I remember when some of the more senior members came up, and they were literally, in my view, as a new person, it just felt like they were just tearing the board apart. It's like, this is not correct. Um, Correction, Mr. Chairman. This should have been this. And then I hear things about motion and moving the motion, and I'm like, what is a motion? Um, and I'm like, these people in my mind gave a pretty comprehensive report. Why are we doing this to these people? So I left that meeting very shocked, and I'm like, okay, this is something different. And I remember, introducing myself, and I believe some other members who he would have invited, were there, and we were very confused. And then, as you knew it, the following month that came,
yeah, cool.
COVID struck. Like literally 2 days before our GA, the whole entire world shut down one time. Everything went to virtual, and then like the world changed after that. So my JC journey began in person, and then swiftly went into online, and the online trainings got into it, and that's my genesis into JCI. So 2020, I was just going to the training, so I was just going through the motions. I was just being there, being present, attending meetings. I was very silent in the meetings. I didn't give any comment, no feedback, no nothing. I was just there being a member. And through at the end of the year in September 2020, I was inducted as a member. One of 6 members inducted to JSI St. Andrew. Renil included was an inductee, so we joined the same year. And he would have given his journey about joining into JSI, and I'm giving mine now. So I was just very curious about what the organization was, because I was seeing training sessions about project management and report writing, and debating, and I saw some of the greats that have passed through JSA Jamaica. So you'd have received trainings from the Senator Paula. You were national president at that time, so I would have attended the national meetings and seeing how you operated, and I'm like, this meeting doesn't this organization doesn't seem so bad. Once I saw Shane coming on and so forth. And from there, at the end, elections came, and I remember the then president that was incoming, he asked me, come on board as the secretary. And I remember President-elect Dylan, I don't have no experience. I don't know how to write any minutes. I've never done this before, so how will I do a good job? Because I always pride myself in doing a good job in the things that I do. And he's like, you're going to learn and as you move along. And I became the 2021 Secretary General for JCI St. Andrew for that year. So it was a learning curve. So I remember first meeting, I gave my minutes, and same thing happened last year. Was the same thing that happened this time around. They're like, Mr. Secretary, this is not correct. Please make an amendment to this. This should be shorter. You must add highlights to this and that. And I remember every month, it was like that. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna try to, take the corrections and move along. And that's how, that kept going. I got involved in projects, even though we were online. I got involved into things, and I started to build that type of camaraderie with the members at the time. So with President Dillon, member Cadian, and so forth, we were pretty close. And then I advanced further to local VP in 2022. Where I began to oversee projects under JCI St. Andrew, and then I remember that was the first year, I would have went to an international conference as well. Uh, and then, we can dive into that, further. But
Mm-hmm.
then further, I went into, the debates and so forth. And then the following year, I remember in Curacao specifically, I was asked, myself and Rennie were VPs at the time. And we were like, one of us is going to become president. Who will it be? I I remember we were saying like, all right, we're gonna fight it out, and then and then ultimately Reniel had bigger ambitions, so he went to the national, of course, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This was the year 2020 going to 2023. I'm like, this is the year where you start to become more uncomfortable. So just jump into things that you're not sure about totally, but it will pay dividends in the end. So I would have said, all right. So no, so disclaimer, because this is a thing in especially in maybe in JCI, local chapters, a lot of persons are afraid to jump into office, especially as president. So with 2 to 3 years under my belt, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna have anybody force me into this position. I'm going to try for myself. Try this leadership thing, because a lot of members who come into JCI, they were youth leaders before. Some of them, at least. I wasn't. So this was my first youth leadership experience. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go full head on into it. So I believe unanimously I was voted as president, and I was president in 2023. So I would have done, projects and had, meetings that were, filled with different activities. So I would have invited, persons to our meetings to bring more value. So, I would have invited persons to speak, from Jamaica Stock Exchange about stocks and bonds, and
Yeah,
we have,
I remember those. Yeah.
yeah. We had our Valentine's Day theme type of GA. I remember when we came back from Colombia, it was very Colombia themed. We came back with the debate trophy and so forth. It was a fun one. And I remember we had a Jamaica themed local GA as well. And then we would have went to World Congress and so forth.
Hold
And
on, hold on, hold on.
yeah,
Yeah, jump me going back. Hold on.
have that.
Marklon, hold on. All right, so let's pause and
Yes.
welcome those who have just joined us. So I am going to try and read some of the comments. So um O'Neill, Sean, and you know who they are. I can relate, NP. I see your partner in crime, Davizan.
Hi,
your,
Bianca.
your, your partner in crime is watching. So yes. Yes. And RTS, congratulations, Markland. So proud of your achievement. Future politician, my nephew Rock. So that is on Nelvi. So that's your aunt,
Yes.
right? All right, cool. All right, Auntie, thanks for watching. Please like and share and tell all of the family and friends and everybody to watch and share. You can ask questions. All right, guys. So please subscribe. So really no, be honest now, Mark. What when you came online and you saw all of us chatting and going through, Mr. President, may I, Mr. Chairman, may I, and all of these motion moved by, seconded by those in favor. All right. Um, what were you really expecting?
In JCI overall.
Yes, you came to JCI
I
Central. You came to national meetings. You went to Panama. The era conference was online, so you
Yes,
participate. That was your first debate competition. I think we lost or we won.
we won.
We won. We won online. So, were you really expecting all of this?
No, totally not. So as I said, uh, past national president Odell would have invited me to this meeting, and I know Odell is a youth leader from Excelsior High School days, so I know he likes to push young people into opportunities. So I trusted him to push me into something that is beneficial. So I would have gone into that meeting. I didn't have any expectations. Um, Coming into the online space and learning all of these things, I didn't have much expectations or aspirations into advancing further. I was just a member absorbing everything that was being thrown at me. So anything JCI International, I was just joining it and just learning. I think that was just me. It was just about learning and so forth. And then I think the tipping point for me was when in 2021, yes, I was secretary. I was in a JCI Tobago, so JCI West Indies Tobago chapter. They would have had a debate training, and I joined that debate training, unassuming, very unassuming. I think I was probably the only Jamaican there. Maybe I'm incorrect, but I was the only Jamaican there in the room. And I believe it was Sean Benoit's JCI Tobago who was giving that um, training. And I remember he picked on me. I was just, as I said, I was an observer in these trainings. I said nothing. So he's like, you will go head to head with somebody else. And I remember the topic was, he gave us a topic, and the topic was, men are better than women. He said men are better than women. So I'm like, okay. And I was for the motion.
You
And
were
I
what?
remember I was for the motion. I
How
was
did you argue
affirmative.
that?
So let me remember. I remember saying that how men are the foundational leaders of history. Every major historical figure were men, and they would have been, the stronger sex of the two, and they would have been the more dominant. I was just going on for about a minute, and this was with no prior debate knowledge or training or any type of thing like that. And I remember just leaving that training and okay, that was an experience for me. I'm gonna hear about my life. And then I remember coming into April thereabout, the then national president of JSA Jamaica, Julian Holt, she was national president, and
Yeah,
she
yeah.
gave me a call. She gave me a call or a message, one of them, and she said, Mr. President, I got great recommendations from you from Senator Odell. That you are debating very well, so I'm recommending you to the JCI Jamaica national debate team. So I'm like, what? I'm like, what? um, so I'm explaining to Madam President, I have no experience in this thing. How can you recommend me for this thing? So he's like, Odell highly recommends you for this thing. Little did I know that Odell was scheming behind the scenes, because Odell
Yeah,
was on
he's
the
a
team,
politician. He's a schemer. Yes.
and he would have cajoled Renil as well into coming onto the team. So it
Mhm.
was myself, Renil, and Odell that was the first team for JSI Jamaica that would have done our debate competition on
So pause.
yeah.
So pause. Sorry. So based on what you have
Yeah,
said so far, you had no expectations.
no
So
expectations.
have we, JCI as an organization, has it met your expectations that
At
you
that
never
time,
had?
I never had any expectations,
So
but
no, no, you must have developed some expectations as you go along, probably after the debate
yes,
in Panama. And so, have we met any of the hidden expectations? Probably they were down there somewhere. Because, for
yeah,
example, you were shy, you weren't the guy that spoke a lot, and now you went as far as Switzerland and running up and down on the stage. So we must have met
yes.
something. And so,
So
what is it that we met?
yes, I think after that era conference online, I think that was a tipping point for me because I think because and big ups to our West Indies brothers and sisters online. I see them. So we would have gone into the finals with them in 2021 online. And I remember when they were announcing the winners, I was so nervous because being the most experienced of the three, I was like, okay, probably I messed up and I would have been the weakest link of the three. Lo and behold, Jay said Jamaica won. And that kind of gives some amount of validation and like, okay, if you were a bad debater, maybe you're not so bad right now. And then once at the end of that year came, I'm like, okay, the speaking thing right now is becoming more of a thing for you. So maybe you should continue doing that. And then being a leader in the local level as a secretary going to VP, I'm like, okay, maybe this is a upward trajectory. Maybe this can be added to your resume as to say, okay, okay, you didn't go to school for this, but no, as a speaker now, you can do public speaking as somebody, as a JCM member. So I'm like, okay, that's a benefit for me right now. I remember now being a board member, you can now learn how to do minutes now as a secretary. You can now chair meetings and so forth. And I'll share one particular instance where it became beneficial. So when I began doing counseling professionally, I remember when we had a team meeting online. It was online. I was during COVID, of course, and I remember they were rotating members of staff to do the meetings. And I remember they said, okay, one adherence council will chair the meeting. You'll get the agenda. You will do everything following through. So I remember they selected me and I'm like, okay. So normally before I would have probably been nervous. I'd have probably did like a Google search and say, how do you chair a meeting? Or go or do something like that. But that wasn't the experience. The experience was okay, you've done this before in JCI St. Andrew. And if you know JCI St. Andrew, they're sticklers for protocol. So you
Yeah.
must get this thing right. So I went into that meeting very confident. So I remember, and this was a parish level meeting for Ministry of Health, by the way. So I remember when the meeting started, and I'm like, this meeting is now called to order. And I'm saying, persons, you need to raise your hand. And I remember saying, like, okay, this person is speaking. After this person speaking, you speak afterwards. Are there any comments after that? Are there any other business? And the meeting went through very smoothly because that groundwork could have been laid. So having no expectations from before, you know, and then coming into the meetings and realizing, okay, um, there is some benefit to your personal and professional life coming into this organization, and that's what really pushed me forward to say, okay, maybe there is more. So yes, practically in real life, in professional Marklon's life, that would have been beneficial. And then having that international exposure with debating would have validated that this public speaking, debating thing is something that you should continue to do. And we won in 2021 virtually Panama City, and
So it was
then
Panama virtual, then Curacao face to
Curacao
face,
face
and
to
then
face,
Colombia face to
Colombia
face.
face to face.
The,
So
this gentleman has been all over the world. Traveler. Pause, Markland. We cannot ignore our viewers. So, guys, thank you for joining us. I am Shane Reed. In JCI, they call me Senator Shane Reed. And we have with us our national president for JCI Jamaica, Marklon Bedward. Bedward, dip them. He's from that family tree. And for those of you who do not know about Alexander Bedward, please go and research about him. He is iconic native Baptist leader, and he stood up as a form of resistance against colonialism and all of that in the 17th century, the 1800s. All right, so Markland is from that leadership line. So leadership is in his blood, and we're claiming that. All right, so thank you guys for joining. Please like and comment. So Markland, now read some of the comments, and I think you can see them. And so Odell said, we had drinks, and that's when we made the decision on who would become local president and who would go to the national between you and Reniel. Is that true?
That is true. So
Yeah.
so there was a little succession planning going on right there. So Reniel would have went on to the national. I would have gone to the local level and then ultimately joined the local level. So I see a question.
Yes, I see. I'm coming to that. Coming to that.
Yes.
Not to cut you, sir, President. Yeah, and you are
Yes.
my boss, so I can't diss my boss like that. Senator Kevin Carnett from JCI Guyana / JCI West Indies says highest commendations, NP Markland. And you can read the question, Markland, and then answer it.
Yes, so he's saying, could you share, especially with young leaders, tips on how you would have navigated challenges throughout your JCI journey? So I think my biggest takeaway from my JCI journey so far, especially going to the local level, is when you come to a JCI meeting, always be open to be teachable. So being teachable, because you could be a youth leader, you could have all of these experiences going down the line, student council, whatever the case is. When you come into a JCI arena now, you're literally going into a political arena, basically. So
Robert's Rule of Order, Parliamentary Procedure.
Robert's Rule of Order and Parliamentary Procedures. But above all that, because that's a learning skill that you have to do. But above all else, I think, and our senators always say it, when you come into JCI, it's almost as if you're a CEO or a boss, but you're doing it without any type of ramifications attached to it. So you can make mistakes and then move forward. So a lot of times you would have made mistakes. So, in reporting, in project execution and so forth. And then, when you make those mistakes now, when you do the next one now, you can be better. You can learn how to raise funds. You can know how to manage others. And that was the biggest takeaway from me during my local presidency in 2023. Just people management, learning how to manage certain personalities and so forth. I think that is something that is not readily talked about, speaking to persons, because we're in a generation now where every generation there is something that matters to them most. So like for me, for our generation coming up and generations younger than mine, the mental health aspect was a big thing. Trying to connect with persons on that level. So, and that's where the JCI Rise initiative came into place as well, where we're focused on that. So learning how to connect with our members and using empathy. And that's something that I use in my profession as well a lot. Using empathy to bond and to really connect with our members. And I think that was really the magic in my year as president, bonding and engaging with our members like that. I would say just be teachable. Don't take things seriously, because sometimes the senators will fire you up in that meeting. So they'll say, Mr. President, this is not how it is done. You need to go back to the drawing board with this. You need to consult this. You need to consult the Constitution, this and that. Sometimes these things can make you upset. It can make you want to cry and go home. Sometimes it will make you want to resign from the position. But just like any diamond, they're formed under pressure. So when you have that type of pressure, and it's coming from a good place, ultimately it's coming from a good place. So you don't take these things seriously. So doing that, being open to opportunities and not shying away. I think that's, for me personally, not shying away from being an active JCI member, because any member online, international, anywhere, if you're a JCI member, you can't be passive. You have to be very active. So I think that's my major takeaway: just being open and teachable, and just embracing the change as you go along.
Thank you very much, future politician, lawyer, and everything. Davian says one Odell. Yes, there's only one Odell. The three of you are three peas in a pod. Yes, I am not going to get. I am not going to get into that. And then there is, I think this is Senator Maureen Wright, right?
No, actually,
No?
that's so she is actually one of our regional social workers for the Ministry of Health. So she's actually joining on. So
Oh, so
so
government, so
I, government is here.
government is here.
Government workers are here.
All right, proud of you, Marklon. Always an asset to our organization. Continue moving forward and upward. Proud. So, all right, thank you for watching, Miss Marine Wright. Yeah, he's cool. He's cool like that. All right, so give me or give us some of your highest points or lowest point in JCI so far.
Okay, highest points. I'll begin.
Our highest moment, mountaintop experience, and then take us to the valley. You can mix it up. Which one are you going to start with first, valley or mountain?
Uh, I think I'll alternate. I'll go through the hills and the valley. So
All right.
I think 2023 was that major year for me. I became local president, and I had a lot of ideas and a lot of aspirations, because now I moved from being a member that didn't have any expectations to having a lot more expectations. Expectations for JCI St. Andrew, expectations for JCI Jamaica, for myself, for my country, and so forth. So being local president was something that I took very seriously. High points, two high points within that year, I would say, was going to the American Leadership Academy in Santa Marta, Colombia, and experiencing that first academy space with my brothers and sisters of JCI America. So that academy is basically training you. So the American Leadership Academy, or ALA that we call it, trains you for national leadership in JCI. So we have local leadership, national leadership, international leadership. So as local president, going there automatically means that you have intentions of going upwards. So firstly, as I said earlier, I'm a language student. So I was a very good Spanish student in high school, French as well. But in JCI, especially this side of America, we see everything. I would have been so in our little traveling groups, I would have been the translator sometimes in the group, because when they started, I'm like, okay, let me try to decipher what that is. And that Allah training ground was a playground to intermingling with other persons from the Americas, from Colombia, Venezuela, Canada, the Caribbean islands, just West Indies and so forth, Antigua. So that training would have opened my eyes as to what JCI really was at a global stage. I would have gotten a taste of it in Curacao as well, and that was a very good experience for me. But going to Allah would have been that step into saying, okay, I remember being president and, going through, I was almost kind of going through the motions in the first couple months, because I'm like, I have a plan of action. I have an idea as to what I want to do, but that guiding light wasn't there, and Allah provided that for me. It also provided good friendships that are lasting up until this day. I had a roommate in Allah. He's Colombian. That's Alex Ojeda. He's now executive vice president of JCI Colombia. So he speaks Spanish. I speak English. Obvious language barrier, but we made it work. And now, even as friends right now, he is trying to learn English, and he and I are even doing English English chats right now where we're doing video calls and speaking in English for him to learn better. So that's the type of camaraderie that you learn within JCI. And then going into the era conference of Columbia, I would have done the trainings. I would have graduated as a ALA delegate, and I would have also won a part of JSI Jamaica, won our second consecutive debate title at that time. And I remember, it was still a rivalry between JSI West Indies and JSI Jamaica, and then JSI Suriname was also in the mix as well. And I want to touch on Suriname a little bit as well. During that year, I also would have begun talks into JSI twinning, and someone from JCI SEMA specifically in Suriname would have reached out to me in 2022 December to say, hey, I've heard a lot about you. You're the debate guru.
You're celebrity, man. Come on.
You're the debate guru. My chapter wants to learn from you. And that her name is Chevelle Plet from JCI SEMA in Suriname. And she's my very good friend, and I must thank her because I had no intention of doing a twinning in 2023. And I believe that would have been a catalyst that would have continued in JCI St. Andrew, not just JCI St. Andrew, but JCI Jamaica, because he would have had a twinning last year with JCI Suriname. So I must thank her and JCI SEMA for having that type of partnership as well. So that was a highlight. But then further highlight, so let me go to a valley.
Valley now. To a valley, yeah.
Let me go to a valley. So a very interesting thing in 2023 was that I wasn't only a local president, I had a full-time job. And remember, this job entails you speaking to people every day. We operate one of the largest clinical sites in Jamaica, so we see over 2,000 patients. So on a monthly basis, I'm seeing 70 plus patients, our clients rather, every day. So you're speaking every day. You have GA every Tuesday for JCI St. Andrew, and that's a wild ride as well. You're managing persons in your local organizations. I would have also, in 2022, graduated as a certified pharmacy technician as well. I think I forgot to say that in my initial, but I graduated as valedictorian for my class for that program. So at the start of 2023, I was also doing an internship in the same pharmacy that I work. So between being local president, I was doing my job literally feet away in my counseling room. And then when I'm finished, I'm going to the pharmacy to do my hours. And I had to do, I think, 520 hours for the year. So I had those three major things juggling at the same time. And I remember one particular day, I believe it was before the AIR conference or after the AIR conference, I wasn't getting enough sleep because, we had our meetings to plan, our projects to plan. I had hours to do, and I had to finish it at a certain time in the year. I had aspirations of higher studies as well. So all these things compounded. And a lot of times for me, one of my weaknesses was that, sometimes as someone who is very driven, I try to do everything on my own. And that was my first mistake as local president, trying to do multiple things at once. So I remember that one particular day, I didn't have any sleep for 2 straight days, went into work, full schedule, right out of work, went into the pharmacy to now do my internship. And I remember when I was in that pharmacy, I was doing my thing. So as a pharmacy technician, you're interacting with clients at the window, you're processing prescriptions, you're packing up prescriptions, you're doing all of these things, you're doing checks and balances to see if you're not making any mistakes. I remember every single prescription that I did, I was making a mistake, leaving off important things. I remember this is medication for people, right? So I remember just feeling like a zombie that day and making all these mistakes, and I just stopped and said, okay, Marklon, you need to stop. So I told my supervisor, Miss Thomas, I'm not feeling well, I'm gonna go home. So I cut my hours short and I went home, and I took the day. I even took an extra day from work and just tried to rebound. And then I'm like, all right, you need to assess this as a president now, because if you're burnt out, because that's what it was, burnout. If you're burnt out, you cannot give to your local organization. You can't give to your internship. You can't give to your job. You can't give to your family and friends. You can't give to yourself. So I had to learn proper time management and so forth, and that was a very difficult thing for me, and I think it's something I'm still working on as well. So that was a pretty low point for me, because I'm like, okay, maybe I need to pull back from JSI a bit and see what I need to do. And I got encouragement, because I have a JCI family. I have a family and friends who are supportive, and they push me to continue. So I approach things differently, and I got through the year, and so forth. So jumping out of that valley, because we
Wait, before you go
yeah.
to the next mountain, let's get some of the comments and say thanks to those who have joined us. Thank you for joining us. I am Shane Reed, and this is Real Life JA on JBL Entertainment TV. And our special guest is Mr. Marklon Bedward, and he is President 2026 for JCI Jamaica. And please like, share, make comments, ask questions. So, Marklon, I'll read the first comment and then you'll read it. The second one, and we go like that. So, Ron Grant says, great interview, and you can pick up Marklon.
Yes, so that's my uncle. So big up, big up,
Mm.
big up him. So thank you so much, family support. So Mystique 2025. I think I know who this is. I think this is another aunt of mine, very dear to me. Uh, well done on your achievement, your
Well,
commitment.
see, that you know, oh, yeah, read the comments. All right, cool. Continue.
Never stop aiming high. You have the potential to accomplish anything you set your mind to.
All right, cool. So go back to that high mountain now, the mountain top. So you had to learn to balance, not to take it
Yes.
all, not to be in your head and try to be Superman for everybody. So you
Yeah.
learned that lesson. Kind of learned it the hard way, but you learned. So that was the valley. So give us another mountaintop experience.
All right, another mountaintop. So um, it was a big thing. Coming back to Jamaica from Colombia, winning that second consecutive debate title. So the expectation now is that you're going to World Congress now to vie for the World Championship. So I remember, okay, now World Congress is in Zurich, Switzerland. That's all the way over Europe. I've never been to Europe at that point. At that point, I've probably been to maybe 3 countries at that time. At that point,
So
uh,
Suriname, Colombia, and
so it would have been Curacao,
yeah,
Colombia,
Curacao. Yeah,
Colombia, Panama. Yeah,
yeah.
Curacao, Colombia, Panama. So those would have been the three. So I would have had to begun preparation for Zurich, Switzerland, and all of these international appearances and experiences. It wouldn't have been possible with just only us. It came from the support of JCI Jamaica and JCI local organizations and our various stakeholders. So like the JCI St. Andrew Financial Committee, the JCI Kingston Trust as well, the JCI Jamaica Senate. Without their support, family support as well, and well wishers, without their support, we wouldn't have been able to gotten that far. So getting that experience to go to Switzerland was an awesome experience and privilege. So going to Switzerland, that was my first World Congress in person, because as a COVID baby, but in JCI, my very first World Congress was online, Johannesburg, um, South Africa,
2021. Yeah, I think it's
2021.
2021. Yeah.
Right. And then 2022 was also online as well. That was supposed to be in Hong Kong.
Hmm.
So if the COVID ban hadn't been raised again, we would have gone to Hong Kong, possibly. But this was my very first in-person World Congress, and that was a monumental experience because you're seeing over maybe 4,000 plus people in one gathering from different countries all over the place. And that would have been an eye-opening experience and a networking experience for me as well. Because every opportunity that we go to these conferences, it's a networking experience to bring back best practices to Jamaica, to make lifelong friends, to make very strategic connections during these times. So going into World Congress, the pressure was on because you're the America's champion. You would have come second in 2021 at the World Congress. We would have become a semi-finalist in 2022 World Congress. So now the third time was the charm. We just had to do it. And uh, to the viewers who are watching, these international conferences, especially for us who have traveled those distances, it's not a vacation. When we
No, it's not a vacation,
It's not a
definitely.
vacation. When we go to these JCI conferences, we almost treat it like work. We take it very seriously. I can speak for myself, I can speak for Reniel, I can speak for Miguel, Adele, and so forth. We take it seriously. Yes, there will always be fun in between, but the big subject matters, we take them very seriously. So as a debater going into this was a very heavy burden I felt on my shoulders in particular. And
Who was the captain? You or Renew?
Reniel was the captain. So it was myself. So Reniel was the captain. I was the first speaker. Miguel was the second speaker. Miguel is from JSI Portmore. So that was always my position, first speaker. So when you give the introduction, I started off the conversation, the deep dive into it. And that was always my comfortable spot in the debate team, being the first speaker. And when we got to World Congress, we got introduced to the big teams, so like the JCI Ireland, the JCI Malaysia, the JCI Hong Kongs, and those type of and those local national organizations. So there was big competition, and we were almost like the underdogs because nobody from the Americas really goes that far into international debating like that. And I remember it being such a nerve-wracking experience for me, not just for me, but for Renil and Miguel as well. And going through, we passed the first stage pretty seamlessly. I remember it was a very controversial World Congress because I remember when we went up ahead against JC Ireland, we were just neck and neck like this. We're just at it back and forth. And incidentally, when the judges deliberated, they didn't take their usual 10 minutes to come back. It took about 20 minutes. And they came back and said the judges need to deliberate once more again because the numbers are close. And the three of us were like wondering, like, what could they be deliberating about? And they took another 10 minutes to deliberate again, and we were just nervous, like running to the bathroom nervous, that type of thing. And I remember they came back and they said, never in the history of JSI World Congress debating that we've had a tie. A tie in debating that was so close that they couldn't distinguish between the two teams. And I remember, and I think it was John Pierre and Dean from JSI Ireland, good friends of mine now, who would have competed in JSI Ireland. We were like, okay, it's either one of us could be it. And then they said, okay, what will happen? There will be a rematch. And I'm like, in all my 2 years of debating at that point, I've never had to do a rematch or redo. It's like one and go and you're done. It's either you win or you lose. So I remember that was something unprecedented at the World Congress, and it drew a buzz from other programs in the Congress because other persons were like coming in the room and saying, okay, this match is very hot. So we went back home. We devised a game plan, and we said, okay, this is a learning process in GSA. So we learn from everything that we do. And I remember our very World Congress in 2021, we were told that in the final, one of the reasons that we might have lost was that we were too aggressive. And I think this is
Well,
something
we are Jamaicans.
I think this is something that some of my West Indies brothers and sisters will agree that we are very passionate when we
Hmm.
speak. And when we speak, it might come off to certain culture, other cultures external to the Caribbean
Hmm.
as hostile or something like that. And I remember that being something that would have plagued us a little bit coming into this competition. And we said, okay, what we're gonna do now, we're gonna tone it down a little bit. We're not gonna lose the essence. We're not gonna lose the Jamaicanism. We're just gonna tone it down a little bit, and that's what we did. And the match was hot. We went against Ireland again, and then we won in convincing fashion too. And the final competition now was the final with JCI Malaysia. Now, JCI Malaysia, I believe, has won this competition multiple times. So again, we were the underdogs again. So I remember moments before that competition. Me and Renil, I'm gonna embarrass Renil a little bit. Me and Renil were just rotating in the bathroom, in and out, because we couldn't contain, like, we were sweating. Like, Zurich is cold.
And you guys were hot.
Zurich was cold, like we barely carried anything warm with us other than our jackets and maybe a sweater or something. So you're going to single degree weather, and when we went into that room, we were just sweating, like we were just in and out the bathroom because we were like, we're ready, vocally ready, mentally ready, but the physical was just jarring. So when we went into that room now, we decided, okay, we're gonna be ourselves. We're gonna be the Jamaicans who we are. We're gonna tone it down a little bit, not to create any confusion as to how we carry across our message, how we deliver our message. And we did that. And I remember, for me, as a first speaker, I remember, the point of informations were coming at us because we knew JSL Malaysia were quick. So every time we spoke, they were like, point of information, point of information. And I remember, having to hold my nerves together and say, okay, I'm going to answer it, because what the strategy was that, okay, we're gonna answer everything, every shot that they threw at us, we're gonna answer it. And that's what we did. And then it was a waiting game after that. It was neck and neck. We didn't know who would have won because it was very close. That very same day we had the award ceremony, so it was only a couple hours wait, and we were there sitting.
Pause. Pause.
Yes.
Guys. So the best is left for last, a little part of this story. So those of you who have just joined us, please accept my welcome. Welcome to Real Life JA on JBL Entertainment TV. If you have joined us this late, you have missed a lot of good conversation, but we have some time left with Marklon. So please like, subscribe, and share the live. If you have any questions, please do so in the chat. Please come back with us tomorrow. We'll be talking to VP Yone about her book and her poetry and all of those things. On Sunday, we'll be talking to Chantilly Camber about relationship. And on the 26th, we'll be talking to Senator Danny Ennis from St. Andrew. She is a past president also of JCI Jamaica. And we hope somewhere there, probably in February and March, to talk to our good friend, JCI President Ali. And of course, we'll be talking to all of you from JCI Jamaica World and JCI World in the Caribbean and the West Indies and elsewhere. So please prepare
Yes.
yourself. So, real talk, Yochel, Madam VP, real talk on the burnt out topic. We definitely need to recognize our limits. Richard Grant says, well done. So,
Mhm.
that awards in Switzerland. There is a video on YouTube which
Yes.
probably by now has probably 300,000 views, if not more.
Yes. And on
Take
Facebook.
on Facebook, yes. Take us through that. You're all seated there in the awards in. Walk us through.
All right. So before I say that, I just want to reiterate that when we go to these competitions, we raise the Jamaican flag very high.
Yeah.
As Jamaicans, we're very prideful, and it's almost as if you're carrying the pride of the nation with you. So when we went into that award ceremony, we weren't doing it for ourselves. We wanted to make JSA Jamaica proud, Jamaica land we love proud. We we wanted to make an impact like that because we know that the type of ripple effect that it could have. So I remember we were sitting there in the crowd, and all three of us, we were holding our hands together because they went into the debating announcement, and our national president at the time, Odell, he wasn't sitting with us. He was on the far side, watching along. And I remember then VP at the time, VP Sue Salimos of JSI Canada, she was giving out the announcement. And she said that I heard that the debate competition was very hot. We wonder who is gonna make it. And I remember when the announcer said, "Let's give it up for Reniel Clark, Marklon Bedward," and then I hear, "Yes, yes, 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 yes!" Over the side, jumping up and down, gyrating and running towards us. I'm like when we heard Reniel's name, it didn't click.
Yeah.
When I heard my name, it didn't really click until Odell started to scream out, and then he started to run, and then the video showed us, hugging each other, embracing each other. Like I remember, like all of our hearts were in our mouths at that point,
Yeah.
because that would have been the very first time a team from JSA America won that debate title. So it was a very big moment. We went up on the stage with big smiles, with the trophy and everything like that. And it was a very surreal moment for me because it proved that our little island has a lot to prove and a lot to give on the world stage. So I know that win and subsequent things that have followed would have been as a result of that. It opened a lot of doors it for us in terms of like twinning and training and so forth. To date, because of that win, I the following year I would have given a debate training to JSI Tunisia, who hosted World Congress last year. I would have done a training with JSI Suriname last year. And just to plug it in as well, because of being so curious in JSI now, in 2024 I became a certified JSI national trainer. So I'm certified to train national organizations and other local organizations just about anywhere. So that's another big thing for me, taking from JSI as well personally. So that's one of the things. And then, as I said, the twinning agreements and other opportunities came. I remember last year I was approached for a local organization in JSI Colombia. A very good friend of mine who I met in Allah in 2023, asking me to give a debate training to his local organization, Valledupar in Colombia, in Spanish. So now I'm saying no. I'm saying no. Respectfully, I'm not so confident in my Spanish, but I appreciate you having so much confidence in me to give that in Spanish. But that's the type of opportunities that opens up when you actually step out and believe in yourself, and actually you're unafraid to be the underdog and come out on top. So that was probably the pinnacle, one of the pinnacles of my JSA career. Yes, there are many leadership
Yeah.
valleys,
Yeah. Hmm.
but I'd like to interject one more hill, the JSA Academy in Japan.
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 Yeah. 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 Nobody cannot leave out Japan. Yeah.
I can't leave out Japan. So you would have spoken earlier about the history with JSA Jamaica going to Japan. So for maybe 4 or 5 years straight now, we've been sending a delegate to Japan, JSA Academy, officially what it's called. So I went to Saitama, that is about 30 minutes away from Tokyo. So for anyone from JCI Japan or from JCI Asia Pacific. We'd like to welcome you to the show as well, and for the awesome hospitality and experience. So JCI, so as my journey came along into JCI, I would have left the local level and gone on to national leadership. So in 2024, I was national vice president, and the expectation was that okay, you're going to be executive vice president or EVP the next year. So became EVP. So now the expectation is that okay, you're EVP, so that must mean that you're going to be president. So I'm like, okay. I remember I was trying to trick myself and say, okay, Marklon, you if you want to stop a JCI career right now, you're okay to do that. But but as the year went on, I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going anywhere. Not because I just want to go to Japan, but because I saw a greater purpose there, and I'll possibly speak further to that if we have more time. So preparation for Japan was very hectic. I remember, saving up like crazy. I remember touching money that I was saving that I didn't intend to touch because I'm like, over my dead body, I am not missing Japan. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be the first JCI Jamaica president since 2020
2019, 2019.
2019 when you went to miss this. And I don't think anybody in JCI Jamaica was going to allow that either. So I
No,
decided,
no.
okay, I'm gonna put my chupancies together. And for the foreigners, a chupans means the little put my coins and my money together, and then I would have sought sponsorship from other stakeholders, other members of JCI Jamaica, other members from our JCI network, and so forth. So I also want to big up the JCI St. Andrew Financial Committee for assisting in that. Would like to big up specifically um Senator David Knight, who's also a past president of JCI West Indies, a state president of JCI Jamaica, or JCI Jamaica Senate President, Senator Everton Hannam, who would have also, contributed greatly to that. Like to also big up my JCI network. So, funny enough, we spoke about Zurich, Switzerland. Um, Networking is very important. So we made great relationships with persons from all over the world at that Congress. And I remember meeting some persons from JCI Germany, and they were excited about what Jamaica had to offer. They wanted to partner with Jamaica. They wanted to experience what Jamaica is like. And I can speak for myself. I kept that relationship going because just learning from these people was one of the things that I love this organization about. And I remember when I reached out to that particular gentleman. His name is Reza Abdi, from JCI Bonn in JCI Germany. I remember reaching out and I'm saying, okay, I'm raising some funds for JCI Academy. Can you help? And without hesitation, he contributed to that. So I just want to thank him, digitally, globally, every alley for his contribution, and JCI Bonn as well for taking that into consideration. We'd like to also, big up all the other senators, all the
Kingston
persons who have
Trust.
the Kingston Trust, the JCI Kingston Trust as well for contributing as well. So all of these members would have done that. So I made my trip. It was a 14-hour flight from I believe Montego Bay. I left,
Yeah,
and
that's 14-hour flight. Yeah.
yeah. So unlike my IPP, my predecessor, Reniel Clark, who loves to take what we call the Reniel Express, I decided I'm not doing that. So
US into Japan.
I,
Agree with
I
you.
went to the US.
Yeah.
I
Agree with
wasn't
you.
gonna jump. I wasn't gonna jump to 3 different countries. I went to the US. Um, Went to the US, laid over, went over to Japan, and I landed in Tokyo. And just as every academy graduate has told me, Tokyo is chaotic because Tokyo is one of the most populous cities in the world. I believe it's over 100 million people living there. And The train station alone made
Yeah,
me want to give up.
that train station nearly drove me mad. I had to say to Charlene and the rest of the crew, guys, just stop and allow me to just cool down and pause because my head was spinning. I just saw
Yeah.
it was a ant's nest, just people just walking. And I'm like,
Yes.
no.
And as you know, the Japanese are very punctual people.
Yeah,
And what I realized is that that punctuality matches how fast things move.
it's just
And
zip,
because,
zip,
yeah,
zip, zip, zip.
so because you're dealing with hundreds of millions of people on a daily basis. When you go into a train, you're going to the train with purpose. When the
With
train door
purpose. Yeah.
open, you run in, because that's what everybody did when I went into the train station. I remember when the doors opened up and everybody started rushing out and punching in the ticket and going through the thing and then going to another train, and then within 10 to 15 seconds the door closed and it went. And I remember a train
Can
came
you
almost every
can you
2 minutes.
imagine? Can you imagine as a Jamaican? It's an alternate universe experiencing that. I lost one of the tickets that I supposed to have
Oh
used
no.
because as a Jamaican, you see a ticket and you say, "I don't need this
Yeah.
again, man." You dash it away.
Big mistake.
Me dash on my ticket when we need to come back to Tokyo from Kawazawa, and oh my God, did I learn my lesson?
Yeah. To how I was traumatized, I still have my ticket to this day in my wallet. Like I did not lose it because I'm like I was told before, do not lose your
Lose your
ticket.
ticket, lest you're gonna be stranded. Yeah.
So I was stranded. So I went into the train. So I found a very helpful Japanese person. Barely knew any English, but this man took his time with me and said, "Okay, you go here, you turn left, you do this, you do that." And by the way, also I tried to do the eSIM thing. That was my first time using an eSIM, and I remember that it didn't fully activate as yet. So even when he gave me the directions when I was on that train, eSIM don't activate. Phone was dying. I'm in a different district in Tokyo, and I'm like, where am I? So I was just sitting there, just sightseeing, looking at the buildings, looking at the trains passing, and I'm like, where do I go? So when that eSIM finally kicked in and I knew where I was, I immediately got off, and I don't remember where I got off. Don't remember the city, but I got off and I asked for the directions, and I like, okay, this is the direction to the next train. This is where my hotel is, because I came one day before my academy began. So I was in the city of Shibuya before I went to
Shibuya.
Saitama. Yeah. So our whole city was Saitama. So it was about an hour outside of that district there. Very interestingly, I didn't know. So like San Francisco has like those hills and valleys in the road. Tokyo had those same things, and I remember dragging my two big bags up those hills by myself. And I'm like, where do I find my hotel? It wasn't really a hotel, it was a hostel. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that hostel. Firstly, I didn't know that Japan had all male and all female hostels. And um, I remember going to one, and surprisingly, that hostel was $8 for the night. So I'm like, okay. I got to Japan. I don't have a bag of money, so I'm saving on the money, because you don't want to waste it. So I found a $8 accommodation, and it was a little pod apartment thingy. So your bed was there, your TV was there, um everything was in that little pod, and then you had a little area to for the bathroom, to keep your luggage, all of that. So that was a very interesting and very unique experience, because this is how Japanese save on space and these type of things,
Mhm,
because
mhm, mhm.
the rooms are so tiny, so you make space. Me, we come from a culture where you carry a bag and pan with you. I'm like, how do you manage? So that was a learning experience. And then
Yeah, yeah.
went into the academy and met my delegates. I met my two Japanese buddies. So versus some persons who only had one Japanese buddy, I had the privilege of getting two. That's Fuki and Zaki. So I want to big them up. My two Japanese buddies, they took great care of me, as my predecessor graduates would have told me that your Japanese buddies take care of you and they never leave your side. And that they did not leave my side one bit. When I was short on cash, even without asking, they helped and so forth. And that's the essence and the friendship that you develop with these members of JCI Japan. And then the learning experience from JCI Academy was very rigorous, because you're learning about global leadership of JCI, and then you're trying to streamline that with your national organization. You're learning about emotional intelligence, you're learning about stakeholder building, you're learning about sponsorship writing, you're learning about parliamentary procedures, the JCI way in doing things, and you learn the other type of politics and so forth. So
Are you ready?
are you ready?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
Senator
ready.
Pascal. Yeah,
Senator
yeah,
Pascal DK. I must big up
yeah.
Pascal DK from JCI
JCI
Nigeria,
Nigeria.
World
Yeah,
President 2016.
yeah.
Uh, Very incredible leader.
And
I
trainer. Yeah.
learned so much. Like every training material that I got, that all of my group mates left behind, I took them back with me, even to the board that we used to break with our hands. We did a little karate in the
Yeah,
academy.
yeah.
So we wrote our fears on the back of it, and we wrote our aspirations, and we broke into the fear and tried to live through the aspirations. And I took all of that back with me to Jamaica and started to piece together, what I would want 2026 to look like. So it was a very enriching experience. Oh, I can't leave out the food. Oh my god, the food in Japan, top tier, top tier. Like they fed us day, noon, and night. Everything had a
Yeah,
food.
yeah, yeah. They are awesome and they are unique. And it is one of the things that you don't know these folks from primary school or high school or university, and in one day you are like best friends. And when you're finally leaving a week and a half later, you're emotional, people are crying. You can't believe that you're leaving your best friend and all of these things. So yeah, it is an awesome experience, guys. So
Yeah,
we we are going to sum up the experience. So this is a
yeah,
summary of Markland's experience from I see Bell putting that emoji. Yes, Bell. And I think, and I'm gonna pause here. Bell, when I just met Bell back in the days, Bell didn't understand the whole JCI thing and
yeah,
why I probably put so much time in it. But when you meet individuals who are willing to pour into you, a lot of it is not even paid.
yes,
And when you travel to international organizations, you go to the West Indies, you go to Era Conference, and then you go to Japan and you see these people who are treating you as if you are them a best friend from you played stock together, you played cricket together, football together. You didn't. You're from Nigeria, you're from Mauritius, and I am from Jamaica, or you're from Syria, but we are connected by one organization. The Brotherhood of Man transcends the sovereignty of nations, and we plan projects and we train and we encourage each other. Yeah, that's the experience, and it makes your life better and helps you to become a better person. So we're going to wrap up the experiences, and then we're going to, after I welcome and read some of the comments, we're going to go to Mexico.
yes.
What was done in Mexico and your plans for the rest of the year, and of course you can big up the partners again and ask for new partners to come on board. So guys, those of you who have joined us, yes, Bell, I know that JCI helped it. And yeah, it eventually helped to change his life, because that JMMB money market thing here, that was one of his first experience, because I insisted, dude, you have got to experience it and understand what it is like. Guys, thank you for joining for wherever you are in the world. I suspect that you are from all the five
All 4 areas.
six, no, five continents. Yes,
Yeah.
all four areas of Jamaica of JCI, A, B, C, and D. All right.
Yes.
So thank you for joining. And you might not be able to watch this live, but you'll watch it when it's up on the YouTube. So watch, share, and we will talk to you sometime in the future. I am Shane Reed. I'm your host. This is Real Life. This is J Bell. We are based in Hanover and St. James, Jamaica. And this is Marklon Bedward, and he is the 2026 president for JCI Jamaica, and he is dipping us in his JCI experience, as his predecessor Bedward dipped Jamaica in revivalism. So you are now going to take us to Mexico, Mr. Markland, President Markland, and you're going to dip us in your experience in Mexico, where you attended President's meeting
Of course.
the other day. What you did there, and what some of the plan.
Okay. So,
Yes,
so
we're still here.
I, yeah, I saw a little feedback, but so the National Presidents Meeting of America was held in Mexico City, and one thing I want to share before we jumped into that, in true JCI culture, we're not going to do meetings and so forth. So we also trade pins as well. So I just wanted to show you one from Japan. We trade pins from different countries. So you see the Colombias and the Guyanas and the Moldovas and the Australia and so forth. That's a little tidbit to show our viewers. We share amongst each other, culture wise and so forth. Going into Mexico now, the Mexico NPM, short for what we call it, really brings the national presence together to align their plan of action with the plan of action of the area, which is America, JCI America. And it would have been a very eye-opening experience. I think I can relate it to it being the Allah for national presidents. So I remember being a local president and needing Allah to guide me through the year. Now this national presidents meeting, along with JCI Academy, of course, but the national presidents meeting really puts everything into perspective as to what the expectations are for national presidents of the year. So as many of the persons online may know, JCI overall had went through a logo change last year. We celebrated our 110-year anniversary, and now we're verging onto the start of our new strategic planning period, because the current one that we're in lasts from 2023 to 2027. So now our cohort of national presidents are now being a part of the planning for the strategic plan for 2028 to 2031, I believe. So it was a very crucial meeting because we spoke about Vision 2030. We spoke about how do we align with the growth expectations of JCI worldwide. So we have over 150,000 members. At our peak, we were up to 500,000, or going towards 500,000, and then we had a decline. And America is one of the smaller areas, so we have over 11,000 active members currently. So we were mandated to have, for each national organization, to have at least a 1% membership growth, net membership growth increase. So how do we do that? They provided us with the tools, and I must commend the JCI American Development Council for doing that. So spearheaded by our director, Senator Mario Vermeer from JCI Suriname, and also our very own IPP and ADC director, Renil Clark, who is also on the team with me in Mexico as well, carrying on the meeting. And I must also thank our head trainers, JCI President 2022, Argenis Angulo, and the 2023 EVP of JCI America, Bolivar Batista, for such a very clear and concise training session that we had over the 4 days. So they provided us with the training tools that would have been beneficial to us. I think Everything would have been tailored to each national organization. So we were grouped up based on what we would have sent to them. So what J says is doing no more than ever is being more data driven. Um, how do we manage attrition in JSA? How do we manage membership growth? How do we manage the membership journey? I think that was one of the main things that for me as national president is very paramount for JSA Jamaica. One of the major things that we have to tap down and really tackle is the governance, continuity, and sustainability of our national organization. So how do we take raw data from our members, feedback from our members, and then make our programs much more greater and tailored to them? How do we make a greater impact within our communities? And then we go into how do we make our membership experience go. So we're now planning to create pathways for our members. So instead of just coming to the organization and doing a couple trainings and see where it goes off, we are now trying to tailor now a pathway to say, okay, if you wish to do more training or become a trainer, this is the path you'll take. If you wish to go into politics, if you will, this is the pathway that you take, and so forth. I remember also learning about how do we manage financial crises as a national organization, which is very, very important because living in the economic and global climate that we're living in now, how as a national organization and nonprofit can now begin to become a more sustainable organization and treating the organization as a business, if you will, but that money, that impact goes into the community and into projects. And we would have also been exposed to tools and grants for JCI that is offered to us. So now we are being encouraged to take up grants that help us in the building of the brand awareness of JCI, because we would have done a name change some decades ago from JCs to JCI members. We would have done a change of the logo in 2025 as well. So a lot has been changed. So there is now a strong push to have the JCI brand awareness out there as well. So that is something big that JCI Jamaica is encountering and pushing towards as well. And also other grants for projects and programs. And so far we have been successful in one grant, and we're gonna keep on pushing. One particular highlight for JCI Jamaica this year at the National Presidents Meeting in Mexico is putting up our bidding for the National Presidents Meeting in 2028. So JCI Jamaica put their bid in this year in a couple of weeks ago. So I would have done the presentation, but ultimately it will be voted on at the Conference of America, which is being held in Antigua, hosted by JCI West Indies. So that is where the real final begins. But this was the preliminary of it. So I was very proud and pleased to have represented JCI Jamaica in that regard and put together that bid. So just like us getting a chance to showcase our talent in debating, we also now want to showcase our talent in hosting JCI events. And that is the trajectory that JCI is moving towards. So imploring all of the stakeholders like our hotel industry, the Ministry of Tourism, Education, and so forth, to band together with JCI Jamaica to have a fruitful one, because it's not only carrying in international members, but it's boosting tourism. Remember, we just came out of Hurricane Melissa and we're rebuilding as an organization. We've now developed a cultural and art type of district in Jamaica as well. So we're not just sun, sand, and beach anymore, but we're providing culture and art. We're providing music. We're providing the music and the food and everything like that. So we want all of those governmental stakeholders to join in what we do. So that's one of the big plans for this year, is to successfully, get that bid in, so we can now
So,
begin
so
to.
pause, so pause, Mr. President. So say we are successful, or when we are successful in that bid, where would the president's meeting be hosted? What's the plans for that?
Oh yes, it would be remiss of me to not mention that. So the planning team would have settled on Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
Kingston, Jamaica, which is the capital. So Kingston would have had the facilities. So Kingston is the business capital of Jamaica, so it would have had the facilities ready to host 60 to 70 delegates around the world, including the JCI board of directors and HQ staff and so forth. So we are, proposing for the Altamont Court Hotel, in Kingston to host that event, and we would have used all of the cultural sites to tailor our programs. So the Bob Marley museums, the Emancipation Parks, the Devon House, the Kingston, the downtown Kingston Art Walk, the National Gallery of Art, and then also opening it up to also other international delegates to explore Jamaica. Because one of the things that really catches members of JCI World is what we have to offer in Jamaica, because we're not just, as I said, the sunshine and beaches. We're a whole package, we're a whole brand.
Yeah.
Because once you see the black, green, and gold, you know what country it is. So we want all of those stakeholders to come on board for that. So if I may touch on to some other major things that we want to do.
Go
in
ahead.
JCI.
Just at least 2 or 3 of your plans for 2026.
Yeah. So our theme for this year in JCI Jamaica is Evolve Your Power, Empower Locally, Connect Globally. So it is tied with the World President Alejandro Castillo's theme, which is Lead, Connect, Evolve. I'm gonna advertise the brand, Lead, Connect, Evolve, and that's the logo here. So, and this is our new logo for JCI as well, for our new members on the call here. So I would have tailored my plans around that, because really and truly, going into the national presidency, just like how many persons who would have poured into me, I want to pour into others as well. And that starts at the local level, ensuring that we are giving them the necessary tools to grow and to expand as the young members, to expand as revolutionary and civic members of our country, persons who are nation builders. That's what we want to build through JCI membership and leadership. We also want to use our international presence to carry that to us, to learn and to export what we would have learned as well. So partnerships is very, very big. So one of the major ones I can say is that we are planning to twin with JCI Canada this year. And NP Jonah Gowans is very excited to twin with us. I know I'm letting some of the cat out of the bag before our first meeting.
President's meeting, first national meeting, yes.
Right. So we are planning, and at the national president's meeting, we had a bet. So similarly to JCI Jamaica, I think JCI Canada has about 200 plus members. We're not too far behind where that is concerned, but I remember, and this is so beautiful about JCI events, you find synergy with persons who are so different from you, are so distant from you. So, myself and Jonah have been friends for a couple of years now, and we connected as EVPs last year, and we're now connecting as national presidents. So that's where the Connect Globally part comes in. How do we leverage our connections to create more positive change within Jamaica and our other partners? So our bet was that by the time of Era Conference, we want to see which national organization can generate the most members, inducted members by that time. So I'm not sure if Jonah is watching right now. If he'll watch later, the challenge is on, Mr. President. We have steering committees on stream who are gearing up. We have members that are pouring into the local organizations. So we're gearing up and being ready for that. So the prize is that one of us will wear our national shirts at Global Village, and we'll have a little twinning drink together. So that's gonna drive some excitement between our national organizations. So I'm pretty excited about that. But outside of that, some other major plans is that we are planning to have our JCI Jamaica Elite Academy, which is a 3-part series of the JCI Jamaica Business Academy, the JCI Jamaica Leadership Academy, and the JCI Jamaica Public Speaking and Debating Academy. So we are anticipating to have our debating academy in April, and then we're having our business academy in April, and then having our debate and public speaking after, and then our leadership academy. So we are building the entrepreneurial spirit of our members. Then we're building the public speaking, the pitching, the CYE of the members, and then we're doing the leadership aspect.
Break down CYE. Say what is CYE. Some persons might
So
not understand what
CYE
that.
is Creative Young Entrepreneurs, and that is an event under the business and entrepreneurship area of opportunity in JCI. So this is ultimately, simply put, a business pitching competition for members of, not just member of JCI, but persons who are interested in creating sustainable and impactful businesses. So yes, so it has prize monies attached to it and other benefits. So if you win at your area conference, you win $5,000 US dollars towards the business, along with um, oversight and guidance from investors and so forth. And if you're successful, you can also go to the World Congress to vie for another $10,000 and more exposure. So that is a very important aspect of something that we want to continue pushing. Last year, we had a finalist in CYE for JCI Jamaica. That's Jelani Cade of JCI Portmore.
JCI
And we want to
Portmore.
have,
Big up
and we have
Jelani.
big up Jelani, and we want to have many more delegates for that. I also wanted to plug in, Dareem Jeffrey of JCI Trinidad from JCI West Indies. He would have been someone who I'd have relayed with about, having some CYEs done. When we went to Colombia, we saw him, it was a shared pride amongst the Caribbean members, to have somebody from the West Indies and the Caribbean who would have won at Colombian and also in Zurich at World Congress. So that would have inspired a lot of members here in Jamaica to try out this CYE competition. So as a result of the Business Academy, we will push forward with our CYE competition and sensitization as well.
I had the opportunity of going through your proposed plan of actions, and there was something about some mangrove mangrove replanting of mangroves initiative. So was that canned, or where are we with that?
No, so it's not canned. So it is very much part of my plan of action. So if I can share probably a 30-second story. When I was a local president, I had this idea to do this project, and I began doing my research. I reached out to a partner who does this type of thing. You pay for the cost, and then they would provide you with the materials, and you do the thing. And I remember I chickened out because I thought this was too big of a project for a local organization, and I canned it, and because I wasn't really confident at that time, so about it. But now, as national president, I'm saying I'm not holding back anymore as a president. So it is something that is more important because of what has happened to Jamaica last year in October.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the passage of Hurricane Melissa would have destroyed Western Jamaica mostly, and impacted the entire Jamaica, physically, infrastructurally, mentally, everything. Persons died, persons lost their home, the infrastructure, the livelihoods, everything you can imagine it has happened. So one of the reasons, and flooding was a big thing, and I realized that one of the reasons why flooding is so prone, even when it's not hurricane season, is because we're literally destroying our natural ecosystem on the coast. And as a science guy, as somebody who is in health as well, you are more sensitive to these things. So I decided, okay, now is the time for the national organization to be a leader in Jamaica, to actually put forward this idea. So I would have put together a plan of action for that as well, and our team is perusing it, and getting our sponsors as well. So it is something that is very important, because as nation builders we have to think about 20-30 years down the line, with the increase in climate change and sea level rise and so forth. now is the time to be putting these things in place to buffer out the outfall of climate change. So this is a passion project for me. I'm not gonna can it. It is not going to be a 1 year project. It's gonna be a
Definitely
multiple year
not.
project.
Yeah.
But I am inviting every governmental, stakeholders, the forestry departments, the Ministry of Environment, climate change, water, land, you name it, our government
Agriculture, all of
ministers,
them.
for
Yeah.
agriculture, everything. Because I know that there are other civic groups that may be doing this, but we're not doing, we should be doing more, basically. So that's one of the passion projects of this year. I know there are some other health related ones like our autism awareness campaign, and our other health related, aspects that we plan to do. But coming from the NPM and coming back to my plan of action, really strengthening and tying up our how do we do our succession planning properly, how do we provide tools and communication in a more streamlined and tidy way, because right now I recognize as national president that we need to communicate more effectively with our members and also provide them with an avenue to give us feedback as a national organization to say, hey, you're not doing this correctly or you're not serving us in this way. So really and truly the essence of this year is to build our members, connect globally, and also put in place measures for a sustainable JCI Jamaica for the next 20, 30 years. So following up with former partnerships and collaborations. So partnerships with the Heart Trust NSTA, partnerships with other youth groups such as the National Youth Council and so forth. Those are some other opportunities that we want to cement and solidify this year. Because in JCI, it's 1 year to lead. So when 2027 come, I will no longer be I'm national president. Someone else will take up the mantle.
You'll be
Um,
gone to
so,
JCI
so I'll be
International.
gone. You're preempting, Senator Sheen. You're preempting. But yes, once I'm gone, one of the problems that we even discussed at MPM is that once a national president exits office, it's not a must that the new presidents carry on the projects and programs and partnerships that are before. And I'm a big fan of solidifying and strengthening partnerships,
And continuity. Yeah.
continuity. So that's the main goal this year to do that and everything else that I mentioned before.
All right, guys, this is the last break, and I let Marklon rip, and I hope those of you who are watching and those of you who will eventually watch this and you are not JCI members, there's nothing like this in Jamaica. There's nothing like this, and if you watch social media, and if you watch what is being presented on certain platforms and see how our young people are being displayed on those platforms, and then you come and you sit, and I hope you do. And I have said it to Bell, I am interested in long form conversations. I'm not interested in the little bit of nonsensical conversations that you do for 5 minutes and you don't achieve anything. I want to give people the opportunity to talk and to express themselves and to think. And you have done that exceptionally well, Markland. You have followed on from Renil. Both of you learn from each other, and it's an exceptional conversation. And we are just the cream of the crop as
Yes.
JCI. We offer opportunities for young men and young ladies like Marklon and Renil, and you will see Yone tomorrow, and you will see many others to be able to grow and lead and develop while we guide them and help them and say, hey, here is $100, go to Japan or go here and go there, help out yourself, experience and meet new folk. So thank you guys for watching. I am Shane Reed. This is Marklon Bedward family. Dip them, and he is our 2026 national president for JCI Jamaica. Let me read some of the comments. So Odell says, remember when you wanted to walk away?
Can I take 10 seconds to talk about that? Because
10 seconds.
Like I remember, 2024 was such a very hard year for me because I was VP for 5 chapters. um I was working full time again. It, at one point it came so much that I wanted to walk away, and they're like, "You're not walking away from this. You have too much to give." So thank you so much for my proponents for that.
Yeah, and remember that Valley experience and what yeah, all right.
Yes,
Loved Bell said love JCI changed my life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing interview, Mr. President, and from that. That is from Odell. I'm very excited for you and your journey as far, and that is for Odell. And Bell says, yeah, Bell went to that JMB training, and he
yes,
said, I am now a JMB family and became a shareholder in the yes. Yes, so yes, Bell, or yeah, that meeting. So you're welcome. All right. So, Mark, and as we come down, and there are young ladies and young men who will watch this, and we will do
yes.
whatever is necessary to ensure that these interviews find its way all over YouTube. They will watch this and they will hear us talking about JCI, and I basically want you to say to them, why should they join JCI?
All right. So to the world from Jamaica, you should join JCI Junior Chamber International because it is the foundational step in your life to what you want to do. So if you want to go in politics, if you want to go into medicine, if you want to go into education, media, um, artificial intelligence, IT, anything of the sort, JCI provides the groundwork for you to make your mistakes, to learn, because they will tell you that JCI is a university of life. Any senator
Senator
from
Carr is on, and he says a well balanced interview. Thank you, Senator Joseph Carr, and he's from JCI Montego Bay, the parent chapter for my JCI
yes,
Hopewell. Yeah.
it's a university of life. I gave you examples of how it has impacted me professionally and personally. Yes, there are other youth groups out there that might be providing these other opportunities, but the difference is JCI put these things into action through planning projects that are impactful in the communities. So I can bring to you an example of JCI St. Andrews planning with the Best Care Special Education School. They saw a need that special needs kids needed a place for education in the 70s. They would have put together a plan of action, kept the dream alive, and now it's a functioning school in Jamaica right now. So when we talk about foundational leadership, that is what JSA is about. We have 4 areas of opportunity, that is individual development, community action, business and entrepreneurship, and international cooperation. So if you're looking to have that international experience, being a diplomat, being somebody who is a representative of your country, your ambassador, JSA is that place for you. These conferences and events, yes, they cost money, but you can't look at it as a debt. It's an investment in
It's
self.
an investment. Yeah.
Yes. So you may find a business partner there. You might find an idea that you can carry back to your country, and then you carry it back. A part of our creed says that we must create economic justice for ourselves. We must create, every man who is free must create economic justice. And that is what we're about. We're not just about the trainings and so forth, but how can you leverage that training? How can you leverage that experience and now tailor that to your life and to your business, and create that type of mobility for yourself. It is also a place to create lifelong friendships and partnerships. So some of the same partnerships that we continuously had in JSA Jamaica and even international, they are now part of us because of our partnership together. JCI provides you that development to be your whole self. Yes, sometimes you immerse yourself fully into it, and you have to jump out of it sometimes and remind yourself that you have a life outside of JCI. But the benefits, if you push yourself, and I'll always say this, you have to be an active member in JCI to gain the benefits. If you're just here to be passive and not pushing yourself, if you're not getting on the local boards and the national boards and taking up the opportunities, you will not benefit greatly from it. So I'm imploring
And
every young person.
quit and walk away and resign and all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah,
You,
and some of these hard times prepare you for the harsh realities in the working world, the international world. And I can say JCI overall has been a great part of my life as a youth leader. I tell people now I'm a youth leader. 5 or 6 years ago, I didn't tell people that. Now I can say I'm a debater. I can do public speaking. I'm now a certified trainer in JCI. I can say that I visited 12 countries at this point in my 6 year
okay,
career,
diplomat.
right? So I'm quickly catching up to you, IPP Renil. He's at 18 right now.
Yeah.
So because he took his expressway, but I'm catching up to you, sir. But it's a good way to connect with the world, and I implore you to join. It's gonna be hard at times, but the benefits outweigh the hard times. Definitely, bar none.
Yeah, just find the balance. Don't overdo it.
Yes.
Bring your family, bring your friends, and be willing to learn, be willing to take on challenge. Um, what sort of partnerships? I think you mentioned some of them already. Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, Agriculture. Is there any other organization that we would want to partner with? And who else would you want to say thanks to? We want to go to Antigua. For myself, and I'm sure for you, the pocket is willing,
Yes, it's
or the
winning, but
mind is willing, but the pocket is weak. So
yeah.
I'm sure we're looking for partners if you want to come and join with us and go with us and display your products or whatever at Global Village in Antigua, etc. Who are we looking to partner with? And who
So
else do you want to say thanks
so
um,
definitely, thank you.
to?
Definitely, a part of our brand, our essence in these congresses is the spirits that we bring.
Yeah.
So definitely, Jerry and Nephew Company Limited is one to do. When we carry our Jamaican products, our food products, it is a hit. So like the Jamaican National Bakery, we're talking about the Red Stripes and so forth. These type of partnerships that we want to bring in. Definitely more government stakeholders. It's something that our team will definitely tailor more to strategically align with. We'd want to definitely. So lastly, I'd like to thank um, my home chapter, JCI St. Andrew, first and foremost, for throwing me into the fire. Uh,
And JCI St. Andrew has a tendency to do that, but we'll not get
yes, and
into
they have a
that.
tendency to do that, but I am better for it. I'm better for it, but it's a journey.
Yeah.
I would like to thank them. I'd like to thank JCI Jamaica over the years, our national presidents over the years. I'd like to thank you, Senator Shane, who have been a support over the years, who have been a support in recent years. As I'd like to thank you publicly as well, for believing in not just me, but the persons coming up behind me as well. I'd like to thank my chapter's finance committee, who would have, been an anchor in terms of pushing us to go towards these international events, and not just international events, but international office. Because as of the last 2 years, we've generated last 3 to 4 years rather, we've generated three international officers from my chapter. And that's our Senator Lydia Campbell, our Senator Odell Marsh, and now Reniel Clark. I'd like to thank the JCI Kingston Trust for always, coming in, when we ask, because sometimes, we ask and, it's not always a guarantee, but they see the need, they see the vision to carry JCI Jamaica back onto the global stage. And I must thank them and the trustees, Senator Linval Freeman, Senator Marjorie Brown, Senator Janet Gibson, Senator um, all of our senators that are on the committee for that as well. I'd like to thank again our Senate President, Senator Everton Hannam, for his support over the years as well. I'd like to thank my family and friends who would have been here with me throughout the start, because sometimes they're wondering like, which country are you going to next? Like, you're always going like, where to next? That is my most common question these days. Are like, are you in Jamaica? Are you on the island? Like, that's the type of thing that is what I'm known for now, right now. I'd like to thank my board of directors this year for JC Jamaica, yourself included, Senator Shane. So my EVP Farron Williams, my IPP and AHC Commissioner Reniel Clark. I'd like to thank my VPs, Yochel Samuels Williams and Yochel Samuels. I'd like to thank my media manager Shamari, my directors Odell and Brian. I'd like to thank my treasurer Keelia from JC Montego Bay. I'd like to thank my advisors, Senator Karen from JC Hopewell, Senator Paula Boswell from Hopewell as well, Senator David Knight from JC St. Andrew. I'd like to thank all of our friends and stakeholders. I'd like to thank JCI Suriname, and JCI Canada, JCI Germany for their continued support in terms of partnership and twinning and so forth over the years. And I welcome the future partnerships and twinnings for anybody else who may want to know what Jamaica has to offer to you in terms of our programs and projects this year. I would just like to thank God most of all for pushing me through this organization, for keeping JCI Jamaica steady and going on strong, going from 2012 up until now. As some of our users, our viewers know our history. We were a part of JCI West Indies at one point, and now we're, treading the road, as a full-fledged national organization. So I'd like to thank every single person, here on the call. And if I've forgotten you, please don't beat me. But I just want to thank you so much for the journey, and I'm looking forward to even ascending further in the organization. So I will publicly state that I am going forward. If it is God's will to go forward or move forward in the organization internationally, that is the way I'm going now.
But
So
you
I'd like
got
to
to. You got if it is the will of the Lord.
if it is.
Yeah, you'll give yourself, because you have about 13 years left, right? Or some more?
Yeah, I'm 29, so I have about 11 years.
11 years left. So pace yourself a little bit, rest a little, get some money,
Yes.
but go for the very top. And you know that as long as we are around and we are alive and we are in good health, that you will get the support. By then, JCI Jamaica will host here a conference, a president's meeting, and a World Congress, because we
Definitely.
have the facilities to host 6,000 people in Jamaica, right out there in St. James, the convention center. And we can host at least 1,000 somewhere in Ocho, probably at
Yes.
Moon Palace. Talking about you.
Yes. And
But
also
yes,
that's also a potential partner that we want to look forward to as well.
yes,
Um, Finally, 10 seconds if I will, just to promote our bid for the 2028 National Presidents Meeting in Kingston, Jamaica, JCI World. I'm looking at you and speaking with you right now. We have the sites, the historical sites. We have the infrastructure ready. Yes, we would have gone through an hurricane together, but we are resilient people, and we are ready and waiting for you. We are come with the vibes. We are come with the energy. We're coming with everything that you expect Jamaica to have: the excursions, the robust programs, the community and the love and the exposure and the warmth of Jamaicans were here for you. So at that Conference of America in Antigua, looking forward to you to for your support in that, because we're one Jamaica. We are empowering our local members and we're connecting global, and this is a part of the connection. So looking forward, and also to encourage our JC Jamaica members to register for the Conference of America in Antigua. I know President Regina from Guyana would have wanted me to plug this in. So the goal, and I'm publicly saying the goal, is for 20 Jamaicans to be in Antigua. That is the goal. At the very least 15, but the goal is 20. It's just across the road, across the waters. Plane fare is not so bad. We're working on the accommodation, so we're encouraging all members. It's not just an expense, but an investment to connect, to build a business, to create friendships, and to carry back best practices to JC Jamaica. So that's all. Host Senator Shane, and over to you.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching from wherever you have joined us. You have joined us from South America, Guyana, and I know that there are others from South America that are watching. You have joined us from North America. You have joined us from Jamaica. You have joined us from Africa. You have joined us from Asia, Asia Pacific, wherever it is, in Manchester, wherever you have joined us. Thank you for joining us. This is Real Life on JBL Entertainment TV. I'm your host, Shane Reed, and tonight we had the erudite Marklon Bedward, who is the 2026 president for JCI Jamaica. You have heard him here first, and if he continues and if the good Lord preserve him, you will hear him elsewhere further on in life. So thank you guys for joining us. Please come back tomorrow evening, where we will go kind of a little bit different. We are going to talk to a poet. She served on the Correct National Board, and she is an author, and she is a teacher, and she is none other than VP Yone Samuels, and we are going to talk about her poetry book, Lusting Over Love, a poetic experience. It is available on Amazon. Please go and support her. She is a writer and a budding entrepreneur. The thing. So you see, we're not just talking, we are showing you examples of somebody who is doing her thing. So please go on Amazon and support her and read the book. We'll be talking about this tomorrow. So please join and support. All right, Marky, big up yourself, my youth, and thanks for joining us. And wish you all the best for 2027. We await information on the first national meeting. I know you have to talk to the board first, so don't talk about it here. So all the best, future Senator Marklon and future everything in JCI. And
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and thank you for joining us on Real Life. Viewers, thank you for being with us for these 2 hours and 17 minutes. These are some of the conversations we're going to have. Long form podcasts, yeah, where we sit down and talk and reason.
Yes.
So
please
see you guys. Big up. Yeah, like, share, and comment. Like, share, and comment, and subscribe. Yeah, thank you, Marklon. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and you will be seeing more of our people from here, hardworking, honest Jamaicans who are building a future for themselves and for their country. And you'll be seeing persons from all over the world talking to us on Real Life. So please subscribe so that you can get notifications. Good night. Goodbye. See you tomorrow. Peace out.
Take care. One JCI.
Yeah. Never to.
Yeah, real life, Jamaica. From the heart to the hills, shame, teach. Real life, Jamaica, we're living so true. From breakfast early before the day. Prays to God, then she finds her way. Kettle boiling, bread on the pan. Simple life, but a powerful plan. Barefoot youth with a big, big dream. Faith in his heart, though life's not clean. Still he smiles when the days get rough, 'cause love alone is strong enough. Even when the night feels long, we still find strength in a simple song. Small little light, but it burns so bright, guides us through the darkest night. Real life Jamaica, we're living so true. From the dust of the road to the morning dew. Sun on our faces, the sky so blue. Real life Jamaica, it's me and you. No fake love, no running away. We hold our faith strong in real life Jamaica. Old man sitting in a wooden chair, telling stories about love and care. Market noise and church bells ring. Hope still grows in stubborn things. No big stage, no fancy light, just a real voice in a quiet night. But truth sounds louder than any fame. Real life Jamaica calls our name. Hold the faith, walk the way, love the land, hand in hand. Hold the faith, walk the way, love the land, hand in hand. Real life Jamaica, we're living so true. From the dust of the road to the morning dew. Sun on our faces, the sky so blue. Real life Jamaica, it's me and you. No fake love, no running away. We hold our faith strong in real life Jamaica. Just a guitar, just a voice, just the truth. Real life Jamaica.
All right, Senator Shane, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm wondering if we're